difficult game. And I don't think it's any less difficult that Nottingham Forest are on, a bit of a slump at the moment. 2 defeats in the last 2 games. They looked really poor last time out against Everton. But I think they'll be smelling a bit of blood here with the way Spurs are going in the league.
Yeah, I agree. I think, obviously, Forest are... you say smelling a bit of blood, but obviously we're on a high after beating Frankfurt. They're not playing that well over the last couple of games, and the pressure's on them. So I don't think it's going to be a case of them smelling blood. I think it's going to be a case of them looking at this game thinking we need to get 3 points. And they're a team all season that I know there's some games they beat Brighton 7-0 and stuff like that, but they don't usually score that many goals. Usually they win by the odd goal. That's usually how they win. So I think coming into this game, even when you look back at the game that they played against us a few months ago, it was a very, very tight game. They got an early goal where they caught us out early in the game. But other than that, it was a really tight game of very, very few chances. And coming into this game at the Tottenham Stadium, when we're coming into this with a bit more confidence potentially, I think they're going to be quite wary of that, in my opinion. So I don't think they come into this game thinking they're going to batter us or anything like that. I think they're going to come into this game trying to just catch us out and grind out a result, I think, in this game. I think they're going to see this as quite a tight game where they know if they keep a clean sheet, there's a likelihood they win the game.
When I say smelling blood, I just mean I feel like they can, they really have that belief within themselves that they can get back on track with this game, because this game means so much more to them. And looking at our games in the Premier League, the Wolves game obviously springs to mind with our last time out, but the players just don't have that motivation, and I feel like Forest will come into this with so much more motivation than us, and they'll probably come into this game smelling that and probably trying to overrule us with just sheer effort levels.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to think that doesn't happen, but that has happened in the Premier League of late, that's for sure, especially that Wolves game where we made error after error. Hopefully that win against Frankfurt, though, the scenes at the end of the game, the togetherness and the fact we're in the European semi-final just brings that bit more togetherness within the squad. And also the fact that we had the Wolves debacle. Hopefully we've learned from that a bit. I guess you could say that from a lot of Premier League games and we haven't learned our lesson, but hopefully we just don't want that to happen again. And hopefully we don't make the same kind of mistakes that we did against Wolves and going into this game. And look, I think as much as it definitely means a lot more for Forest, I don't think Spurs come into this game thinking it's like we're going to down tools or anything, as much as we did before the Frankfurt game. We obviously don't have another game for a week, and let's hope that we put everything into this one. Yeah. Especially some of these players like Jed and a few of these players are hoping to get into that semi-final side.
I do think in terms of when you're looking at the predicted lineup that we're having, Danso coming in terms of compared to the Wolves game, Danso coming in ahead of Davis, so that should make our back line a lot stronger, having Danso and Romero as the back pairing. Tell is looking better and better as each game progresses. Hopefully Odebear as well, he's got a bit to prove with Johnson starting week in week out for Spurs over the last few weeks. So there are a few players on there with a bit of a point to prove, aren't they? But we've just seen time and time again in the Premier League over the course of the last couple of months, we just can't seem to get ourselves up for these games.
Yeah, and that's been the reality. We've been really, really poor. That's absolutely right. But, they just lost at home to Everton. And,
But they've actually got something to play for. They've got Champions League football at stake. We've got literally this. There's no stakes on this game for us whatsoever.
Mm-hmm. But maybe with I know that. But it doesn't mean that we're definitely going to lose. I think the togetherness hopefully can bring out a better result. And I think they know that they can't just keep losing game after game after game. That doesn't breed any positivity. So I think they're going to try and get themselves off for this game, hopefully. And obviously, from what we've seen in the Premier League, all the evidence points towards potentially another lacklustre performance and maybe a performance where, we get not dominated, but we end up losing another frustrating defeat, because that's what we've seen all season. But hopefully in this game, that can start to turn and that can start to flip a switch. And I think we're going to need that to have a really positive end to the season.
You're looking at that game, earlier on the season in December when we went there and lost. I mean, it wasn't the worst display in the world, that game at Nottingham Forest, but I thought, they were the one that did create more dangerous chances. And if we do go and play our football and go play a bit more expansive than we did at Frankfurt, we know that they've got the tools on the counter-attack to really hurt us. Elanga, just look at that goal he scored against Man U a couple of weeks ago. Hudson-Odoi.
Did the same against us, didn't he?
Yeah, pretty much did the same against us as well. So, I mean, how do you think we approach this? Because we know that if we do play that kind of expansive way and leave ourselves a bit open at the back, they've really got those tools on the counter-attack.
Yeah, I know that. And they that's what they kind of go for. But you've also, and I think they do tend to struggle against teams who sit back a bit more back and basically deny them that space. But we're at home. I just don't think we're going to do that. We're not going to sit back against them. We're going to go for the win. We're going to push up and try and score goals. And we have seen them struggle against that as well sometimes. I like Bournemouth. I remember they got battered 5-0. Newcastle blew them away early on in their game. I mean, they ended up winning 4-3, but they blew them away. So it does happen as well that you can really get at them. But they're obviously so strong defensively. Milenkovic, Murillo, that back line are very, very strong. So I feel like with them, if you don't get them in that first half, it's so hard to break them down once you allow them to settle in the game.
That's the thing. I mean, the longer this game goes on 0-0, the more dangerous it gets for us. Mm-hmm. That's the reality with Nottingham Forest. And I think if we can kind of start really fast and get that opening goal in the opening 25 minutes, half an hour, then we've got an actual proper game on our hands. And that's the potential of where we're going to see how Spurs can get 3 points.
Yeah, I think also you've got to remember Forest haven't been in this position too much. And we've seen it many teams in this kind of position. I know that with 6 games to go, 6 games to go. So they've done really well to be in the position they are with this amount of games to go. And whatever happens between now and the end of the season, have had a good season. But we've also seen definitely teams get to this position and start to falter and the pressure get to them. And I wouldn't be surprised if something similar happens to Forest in these last few games. And it's happened a bit over the last couple of games as well.
Yeah, as much as they've never been in this position, we haven't been in this position in the league in a very long time as well. It's kind of like Forest and Tottenham have just kind of flipped over the last couple of years, where they've been the ones at the wrong end of the table. We've been the ones trying to get top 4 in European football. And now we're the ones 15th in the league and they're, chasing Champions League football. It's pretty mad, isn't it?
They've had they've got our old manager as well, Nuno, which is absolutely incredible how it's turned around for them. Gibbs White, brilliant player. What a season he's having. They've recruited smartly. I think Nuno has had a vision. And I look at Forest, they actually play so similar to how we played in that first game of the season against City when we beat them. Like, with very fast transitions. Obviously, we won that game and then it didn't really pan out much after. But I think it's so you can see a blueprint there, how we beat City in that opening game. And that's pretty much how Forest have been playing all season. So fair play to Nuno. I think he's recruited smartly. He's used the best of what he's got. I think he's really got them best out of Elanga and Hudson-Odoi and Gibbs White and Chris Wood especially as well. So I think he's done a phenomenal job, really phenomenal. But I also look at Forest, and as much as they've done brilliantly, the way they play, like I look at the way they play and they just don't create that many chances, and it's been working out for them. But long term, are they going to be able to continue to play this way for years and years and continue to be challenging at the top? I always feel like you still need to have a bit more about you offensively to be there consistently. And as I know they've done really well, credit to them, they deserve to be in the Champions League. But whether they'll be there, in the years to come, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the way they play, though, you're looking at the players that they have. They have such good players to implement that style of play. I mean, their defence has been so rock solid this season. It's just so hard to score against them. You've got like Murillo and Milenkovic. That partnership has just been phenomenal this season. It really has. Ola Aina at fullback, he's just like kind of exceeded all expectations this season. And you've got players like Nico Williams and whoever else they play at fullback. Just that, and Sells at goal. What a season he's had, Matt Sells. You're looking at that base of what they can build on. I think it's such an unbelievable base, that back line. It really is. And then you've got players like Morgan Gibbs-White. I mean, what a season Morgan Gibbs-White, he's been touted for a potential move to Man City. So do you not think if they can build on maybe the attacking talent that they got, because obviously you don't really need to build on that defence because of how amazing it is, but if they can get more and better offensive players, do you not think that they can, evolve their kind of system?
If they can do that, then for sure. And they have to have what they have to do is do something that definitely Tottenham have been guilty of not doing, and some other clubs, is if they do get Champions League, make sure you take advantage of that. Make sure you recruit players who you wouldn't be able to get if you weren't in the Champions League. Make sure you really kick on, like Villa did, and maybe Newcastle have been guilty of not doing a bit, but definitely a team like Villa definitely did that when they got Champions League. They've kicked on with some really good recruitment. I think that's what they need to do. Wolfie was saying, they've been with Gyökeres. Go and get someone like that. Then you can up your level. I think if they think that going forward with the players they have is going to be good enough to compete on Champions League and Premier League next season, I think they're mistaken, in my opinion. They need to up the level. Even players like Hudson-Odoi, Elanga, very good players, had great seasons, but I think they need even more than them to compete on both fronts next season.
100%. I think they need, for next season, if they are in Champions League, they need a new number 9, that's for sure. I know Chris Wood has done unbelievable this season, but this is a one-off season for someone like Chris Wood. They do need like a Gyökeres style signing for the number 9. Nice, bigger physical striker, younger profile as well. What's Chris Wood, like 34 years of age or something, which is mad, the season that he's had. But in terms of Nuno, we sacked him after 10 games. Do you feel like, in hindsight, that we did sack him a bit too early, and maybe if we kept him, he could have implemented a bit more at Spurs?
He probably could have. We did sack him, obviously 10 games in. I said it at the time, even when I said it was probably the right thing to sack him, it wasn't a sackable run of results. It was definitely sackable performances, though. It was 5 with 5. Huh?
We couldn't have a shot on goal.
I know, I said with performances, it was definitely sackable, but results-wise, it was 5 wins, 5 losses in your first 10 games. It's not like the worst we've ever seen. I mean, clearly, look at this season. But I was in terms of any manager's first ever 10 games in a new club, 5 wins and 5 losses is not the end of the world. That's not something which you sack him over, but you're absolutely right. I think we won the first 3 games 1-0, which were not like the best performances anyway, apart from maybe the City one. The other games weren't amazing. I think one of them against Watford, a poor Watford team, we beat them with a cross that went all the way in. Then we lost 3 games in a row. We lost 3-0, didn't we? Against Arsenal, against Palace, against United. United was in maybe after that. We then scraped past Newcastle 3-2, I think, which even then, they were terrible at that time. So it was definitely not convincing and nothing to be happy about, that's for sure. And especially as well, we had the cloud of Kane coming over us at that point as well, where he wanted to leave because we weren't matching his ambitions and he was having a dreadful time of it. He clearly was unmotivated and all that stuff under Nuno. So as much as results-wise it wasn't a crisis, it was definitely a crisis at the time in terms of performance level, all those different things. So I definitely think it was the right decision to sack him and go with Conte. I think at the time it was the right decision. I think we probably wouldn't have got top 4, I don't think, if we didn't do that season. So it probably was the right decision, but was it harsh on Nuno? Absolutely. And if we had given him time, like Forest gave him time, this is his second year, and it allowed him to implement a way of playing, and maybe it would have meant we had to sell Kane to do all these kind of things, or definitely to really implement Nuno's vision, because I don't think Kane was ever really convinced by him. So maybe it would have taken, getting rid of some people like Kane and getting Nuno's people in and stuff like that. But yeah, I think he could have probably done a decent job at Tottenham, but I don't think it was a mistake to sack him at the time. But it doesn't mean he was a terrible manager. It was just we were a mess at the time and we needed something different.
Yeah, I mean, it was just the wrong appointment. Never mind the wrong decision to sack him. It was the wrong time, or it was the wrong to appoint him. We should never have appointed.
And he was our 5th, 6th choice or something.
Yeah. Well, it was because Conte rejected us at that point.
Slot, was it Slot rejected us at that point?
Nah, Slot was before Ange, wasn't it?
I think Potter
said no. There was a lot of managers.
A lot of managers. Ten Hag, I think. It was even before Ten Hag joined United, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, because Ollie was still there.
Yeah.
So I think we weren't interested in him. There was a lot of
Crazy
managers.
amount of managers rejected us at that point.
Fonseca and Gattuso.
Fonseca, yeah, I mean, Gattuso didn't reject us. We were going for him, and then that was that whole campaign. And
I'm just saying there was a number of of
Yeah.
managers in the reign before Nuno,
Yeah.
and we ended up on him.
So look, it's going to be. I think it's going to be a very difficult watch tomorrow night at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. I just can't see how Spurs are going to go into this with the right motivations. You know, I'm just looking at all our Premier League games over the last 3 or 4 weeks. You're looking at Forest's motivations, and yeah, I know they're not playing well at the moment. They've lost their last 2 games, but I just feel like with the way Spurs like to play their football, I think it could just play into Forest's hands tomorrow night.
It could, but also they risk if they just sit and expect just to beat us on the counter. Maybe if we do get a goal early, all of a sudden ruin the game plan a bit. All of a sudden that throws out of the window,
Yeah,
and they all of a sudden they could be in a bit of trouble. So they got to be a bit wary of that.
Yeah, who do they have out going into the game tomorrow? What's their injuries?
Looks like just Ola Aina potentially and Albioni. So there are not too many injuries, to be fair.
Yeah, he's been so good, Ola Aina, this season. I've been so impressed with him. He's even had, off the back of that, you know, links to a lot, you know, big clubs this summer. I don't know if he will end up going, but yeah, they're going into it with more or less a clean bill of health. Apart from Aina, Albioni wouldn't have started anyway. Us going into it without Sonny, and we're going to make a lot of changes anyway from what our strongest lineup is. So, and we know, like, most of the times when we make a lot of changes, we just can't seem to have that cohesion in the team.
Yeah, it does feel a bit disjointed. So I think Forest will definitely come into it. I wouldn't say confident, because as you say, you look at Wolfie. Look how not. I mean, maybe that's always how he is, but he's not confident because of he's seen their forms being a bit dipped a bit recently, and also the pressure's going to be building. So I think it's going to be a very kind of tense game for them. I feel, even though we're where we are in the league, and even though we're not going well, and even though this isn't our priority, it's still a very, very tense game for them. So I think it could easily be a 1-0 for them, a very tense one. But if we do get a goal early, because I do think we're going to obviously go at them, I don't think we're going to play like we did against Frankfurt. Maybe like Frankfurt in the first leg, probably something like that. I think we're going to go at them, and if we do get a goal out of something, I think all of a sudden the pressure's on them, and they're not the kind of team that just come back from when they're losing. That they very much rely on getting the lead and hold to it. That's very much how they play.
Yeah.
So if we get the first goal, that is all the time the pressure's on them.
Yeah, all in all, I just don't think it's going to be a great game for the neutral tomorrow. I think that's what it's kind of suggesting to us. But yeah, what's your score prediction? You still sticking with 1-0?
I said 1-0 Spurs. I get a feeling that we get the first goal, and I get a feeling that Forest struggle to kind of when it's on them to kind of come at us. I think they might struggle a bit because they're not the most offensive team. They very much rely on counter-attacks. So unless they get that first counter-attack, which I get the feeling we might take the lead, I think we might win the game. So I'm going to go 1-0.
I hope you're right, but I just can't see it. I don't think we're going to get the first goal. I think Forest will get the first goal, and I feel like they're going to hold on and completely stifle us. It's going to be hard for us to break them down. I mean, we're finding it hard to break anyone down at this moment in time. So with one of the best defences and the defensive setups in the league, I just find it really hard to think that we'll be able to break them down. So I'm going to go for 1-0 to Nottingham Forest tomorrow night. I'm going to be here on the watch along with Barry. Sim will be enjoying the luxury at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium on tomorrow night. So he'll bring all the footage from there. But thank you, everyone, for joining us today. We'll see you all tomorrow. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always,
Come on, you Spurs.